Okay, it's 6:30. What's the date? November 5th. This is going to be a joint meeting between the Board of Selectmen, Board of Health, and the school committee. So I'll officially open the meeting, 6:30. I guess we're going to get, Tony, we're going to get to the school committee in about half an hour, right?
Yes, so we'll start with coronavirus, then we have to get into the tax classification hearing.
Okay.
And then we'll get into the rest of the agenda there.
Okay, what time do we have to do the tax classification? 7?
We got to start it by 7.
Okay, start it by 7. Okay, is Deb around? She can open it up with a.
Deb's not going to be able to be with us, but John's on the call, Dan's on the call as well.
Okay.
I can give, a brief update as far as coronavirus goes. I think many folks are aware that last week we entered the red category. That is, for the town of Nahant, it's actually pretty quickly we enter the red because of how small of a community we are. So we had 5 cases that basically launched us into the red category. Right now we have 11 active cases currently, and we've had 4 new cases since October 28th. The new data from the state wasn't coming out until probably within the last hour or so as to whether we were still in the red or dropping down to the yellow. When you are in the red category for 3 consecutive weeks, you have to pull back your reopening phase. Right now we are as open as we can be. But if we were to be in the red category 3 weeks in a row, we'd have to pare that back. So that has to do with numbers and restaurants and businesses and different types of things. It doesn't automatically impact our school, and our superintendent, Tony Parentozzi, is on the call as well. Thankfully our cases our active cases that we have are not impacting the school currently. So there's no change in our in how the kids are in school currently. Tony, do you want to say anything else on that matter?
Certainly. Thank you, Tony, Mr. Chair, and members of the board and members of the community. All schools in the Commonwealth are in a special category. The Department of Public Health, the Governor's Office, and the Commissioner of Education's office have separate guidelines for schools, so that when the governor, for example, his new guidelines go into effect on Friday at 12:01, they do not impact us. We are held to a very, very high standard, obviously, because we have children who are mandated to come to school. So every time there's a case in Nahant, we do a contact study. We're in contact with Deb constantly. And the good news is, as the town administrator stated, the cases that are active in our community are not connected to the school either by a parent, guardian, family member, student, or staff member. So we are progressing with our current plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you.
John.
Before you go to Tony, I just want to say to the superintendent and the school committee, what a great job you've been doing over the Johnson School. I drive by it every day, and I love to see the kids out when they can. They're all distanced properly. masks. I mean, you've done a phenomenal job over there, all of you. The teachers, you, the superintendent, your administration, and the school committee. So I really appreciate the work that you've done over there.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. As you appropriately noted, it's a team effort. The parents have been phenomenal. Parents put on their masks in their cars before they even walk their children to the school. The kids have been great. It's really been a team effort, and knock on wood, we will continue to have in-person learning because that's what a school is all about, as we all know.
Good job. John, are you on, John?
I am.
Okay.
I am on. Tony had asked me to review the executive orders issued by the governor several days ago. And it's quite extensive. Executive orders 53, 54, and 55 are available at mass.gov for anyone to take a look at. There's summaries as well as the entire executive orders. And several pieces are worth noting here. And that is that public venues and businesses end operation at 9:30 p.m. Organizers of events are required to report COVID positive findings to the local Board of Health. Local Board of Health and local police departments are authorized to issue civil penalties, $500 per person if gatherings go over the limits set. Executive Order 54 establishes limits at private residences not to exceed 10 indoors and 25 outdoors. And Executive Order 55 makes masks, wearing of masks mandatory in all public places. Employers and schools are authorized in this executive order to require written proof of exception if exception is claimed. Those are the highlights. And as I said, the complete executive orders are included at mass.gov. Anybody have any questions at this point?
I think I'll just expand on that a little bit, if you don't mind, John.
Go ahead.
Clearly the most recent guidelines issued by the governor are targeting holidays and private gatherings, and youth sports was another issue that really caused some clusters and spiked the need to, restrict more types of activities that are occurring across the state to help prevent the transmission, and which clearly seems to be increasing statewide. So with that, and it also really, it pushes a curfew type guideline that, there's a stay-at-home advisory between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. And certain businesses and activities need to close at 9:30 p.m. So it's in line with that, being able to get home by 10. And if you're having a gathering at your private residence, it's supposed to end at 9:30 so people can get home by 10. Clearly it's not ideal. It's not great. It's not something that anybody really wants to be doing, but it is important to help limit that transmission. It's important. It's clearly a way to try to prevent further spread that is likely to occur with normal activity around the holidays. And as we've always known, indoors is always susceptible to more transmission than outdoor activity. and with the weather getting colder, activity coming inside is bound to occur. I think that our Halloween activities here in Nahant and, in a lot of neighboring communities, went off without a hitch and really showed how the communities, like for the better of the children and, still participating in holiday traditions, folks adapted to that and did it the right way so that it could still occur. And I think we have to still have that mentality for the rest of as we continue through the holiday season. When it comes to Thanksgiving, when it comes to Christmas and New Year's, and as we get through the next couple months here, obviously it's a time where people like to get together indoors and enjoy each other's company, and we just, it's important that we do it the right way. Any events that have come to the town hall for requests for events, I'll just say that the Board of Health, the Board of Selectmen, myself, John, Deb, we look at every one of those events with a goal to say yes, a goal to achieve it. We all believe that we can continue to accomplish things. As long as we are following that guidance, and we're never looking at anything with a lens of like the first answer is no, because it's easier to just say no. We're really trying to, continue to enjoy the activities that we typically do, but do it in a safe way. So I just wanted to put that out there. And, as we, one thing that's coming up soon, we have Veterans Day coming up soon, which is impacted, Christmas tree lighting or Christmas parade. Those are things that we're looking at right now. And, trying to figure out, can we accomplish those things while also keeping everybody in town safe? So it's just, just wanted to add that to John's statement.
Thank you, Tony. I'd like to just reiterate and emphasize what Tony was saying, that when we receive an event request or an email or a walk-in to anybody approaching us regarding any event, whether it has occurred traditionally in town or is a new idea, as Tony said, the first response is yes. Now let's figure it out and see how we can do it legally and safely within the mandates and guidelines. And I think that we have been fairly successful. But most importantly, we've been consistent. So we encourage the citizens and the business owners to continue to contact us, knowing that that is our perspective. That is how we are approaching it. And we will work with folks to try to make sure that what people are used to, the routines will continue to occur, but adapting in a manner to stay healthy and within the mandates and guidelines. Thank you.
And following up with like what Tony Parentazzi was saying about the parents and the kids and coming in and out of the school, I really want to say how proud I am of the residents in town of adapting to those guidelines. I mean, Halloween was another great example of how, we all worked together and did it the right way, and we're still able to accomplish something. So I think, the residents are really responding well to that, John.
Hey, Tony, it's Gene, and I know we've had this conversation, but with the virus predicted to get more contagious, what is the likelihood of us doing in-town testing?
The likelihood is up to us. I mean, we can it really just comes down to, getting a contracted, certified, professionals in here to conduct the testing. Obviously, it comes at a cost. Certainly, I don't want cost to be something that prohibits us from making it available. We are contributing our CARES Act money to the free testing that's available to residents in Swampscott, and there's free testing available in Lynn. So, but our money does run up at the end of the year. And with the recent hike and the new guidelines, we're bringing on an additional health nurse to help with tracing. With testing comes more tracing. So we're just being mindful of, what our budget is, and, that there's other options available to residents. So, it's something that we're going to continue to explore. We're just not there yet.
What is that? Is that a per person cost, or is it a segment cost?
Yes, per person cost.
Per person cost.
So
and how many people?
In Swampscott, it's $70 per person. They're averaging somewhere around 150 tests per day that they're open. Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. Not all of those are Nahant residents.
Tony, I'd like to add that I get tested fairly frequently, and I get tested in Lynn, and there are testing sites 7 days a week. And unlike 4, 5, 6 months ago, the turnaround time is 1 to 2 days. That's been what I've experienced. The most I had was 4 days. I get a phone call, and then I get an opportunity to call a physician if I have questions, and then I get the results in writing a couple of days later. I always recommend that people make an appointment, but twice I've just walked up with no line and been tested. So I encourage people to be tested in Lynn. It's free to Greater Lynn residents, and it's a resource that we should avail ourselves of. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, John.
What's the protocol for the Council on Aging?
As far as
Testing.
there is no protocol with Council on Aging. If somebody needs like a ride to get a test, we do. Our Council on Aging, Linda Peterson and Ann Callahan, do daily calls to all of our, anybody associated with the COA, and they do wellness checks daily. And sometimes it's, folks need to go to the grocery store. Sometimes folks need to go pick up medication. Sometimes people need a ride to get a test. So it just kind of comes in day by day.
Okay.
I know, Tony, I've been tested twice in Lynn, as John has, at right across from Sacred Heart. And both times I went there, there was no line. I drove up. Within 5 minutes, I was tested, and I was notified pretty quickly. Are we having a lot of, is Town Hall getting a lot of requests for testing?
No, not really. I would want to check with Deb Murphy on that, because she would probably be the one to receive most of those requests. But no, I don't, I haven't gotten many. I think folks are pretty much aware, are pretty aware, to the opportunities in Lynn and in Swampscott.
My question is more open-ended. It's just because a few people have asked me about testing, and I've told them Lynn, I've told them Swampscott, And obviously for those who would have a difficulty in transportation or any other difficulty, having it in town would be certainly well worth it.
Okay, let's keep an eye on the budget, Tony, and if we can fit it in, it would be great.
Definitely.
Okay, it's about 6:50, so why don't we come back to opening comments, because I know we have to get the tax classification hearing in, and I see the assessors are here, I see Sheila and KK and Dan and, Perry, so,
David?
why don't we do that, then we'll come back to the opening comments.
Okay. All right. Good evening, Tony and Board of Selectmen and members of the community. The Board of Assessors and I are here tonight to finish the process that was started on October the 22nd. I believe you have in your packet the tax classification form. Does everybody have that, Tony?
The form may not, actually, the
Not
form
be-
is not in the packet, but the motion.
Okay, but the motion is, okay. All
Yeah,
right,
so-
so
Why don't we open the hearing, Sheila, and then we'll
Okay.
get discussion, so Josh, if you could make that motion?
Yeah, I moved to open the FY 2021 tax classification hearing that was continued on October 22nd, 2020.
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded. Discussion. Go ahead, Sheila.
Okay, so at your meeting on October the 22nd, you did vote a residential factor of 1. You did not grant an open space discount. You did not adopt a residential exemption or a small commercial exemption. So tonight, I'd like you to ratify that particular vote. And also, I just want to let you know that our excess levy capacity is one of the smallest in the past 30 years. It is only $516.30. Last year's was $9,491.44. So, it's a big difference.
Not much playing.
Closer to the levy limit.
The levy limit is the limit that the town is able to raise under Proposition 2.5.
Correct.
So, we're at our limit. We can't raise it any higher. It's always pretty close, but never this close, so we don't have a lot of wiggle room here.
Yeah.
Okay, so the reason we extended this hearing is if there was any public input. Does anybody on Zoom tonight from the public have any questions about the tax classification?
I can tell you that the tax rate's going to be $10.51. It was $10.97 last year.
Mhm.
Okay,
So it's gone down. I guess our property
values are going up. Yeah,
I understand. Okay. Okay, well, great. I thank you, Sheila. Thank you, KK and Perry and, Dave?
I just changed the setting on Zoom that anybody on the call, if they had any comment, they can unmute themselves if they have any question about the tax classification hearing. And if not,
I'll have a motion.
you have a motion on the floor to actually open the hearing.
We did. We opened it. We just need to ratify it now.
Well,
Yeah.
I think we have to,
You-
I think we have to vote to open it. We just heard the motion.
You motioned, seconded, discussion with Sheila, so if you guys just roll call.
All in favor?
Josh Antrim, aye?
Gene Canty, aye.
Mark Cullen and I.
Okay, so now I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to ratify the vote of October 22nd, 2020 of approving a residential factor of 1 and not adopting an open space discount or residential exemption or a small commercial exemption for the year 2021.
Seconded.
Motion is made and seconded. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Josh Antrim, aye?
Gene Canty, aye.
Mark Cullen and I. Thank you, guys.
okay.
The discusses. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
No, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
All right, now we're gonna go back to, opening comments. Josh, do you have anything?
We should close the hearing, Mark. The
Oh,
hearing
I'm
should be
sorry.
closed.
Okay, I didn't have a month. Okay, gotcha.
I'm sorry, I jumped out for a second. Did you also vote on the utility liens?
Not yet.
Will you do that before
Sure.
you close the hearing?
We don't have a motion for the closing, but Josh, you can make one up.
Well, let's do the lien thing, per Tony's request. So I move that the Board of Selectmen approve the FY 20 utility liens as presented and in the amount of $84,822.20.
Seconded.
Motion has been made and seconded. You want to say anything, Tony, on this? We've discussed this at our last meeting.
Yeah, so this is essentially, it's utility bills that haven't been paid. This is about standard amount, not any significantly higher or significantly less. Something we do every single year. I know that our treasurer collector made multiple attempts to reach out to folks and give them plenty of notice on the need to pay any outstanding bills. So at this point, it's a annual vote where we approve this. It actually plays a role in that tax rate. So they kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Tony. And again, if anybody out there, the property is being liened because of this, please reach out to the town administrator. Try to make some sort of arrangement. I'm sure he's flexible. I know it's tough during COVID, and some people are struggling with work and what have you. So the town is certainly willing to work with you in developing a payment plan or whatever is necessary to help you out. So reach out to the town administrator and we'll try to work something out. Any further discussion? Seeing and hearing none?
Josh Antrim, aye.
Gene Canty, aye.
Mark Cullen and I. Okay, so before we get into the appointments, why don't we go back to the opening comments?
Close the hearing.
Close the hearing. Close it.
I move that we close the
FY 21 tax classification hearing.
FY 2021 tax classification hearing.
I'll second it.
Seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Josh Antrim, aye.
Gene Canty, aye.
Mark Cullen and I. Okay.
And,
Finally.
If I could interject as a Board of Assessors, with the hearing being closed, we would also like to close our meeting. I'll accept a motion for that closure. KK?
So moved.
So moved. I'll second that, being the second member of the Board of Assessors. All those in favor, signal by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries, and we are closed. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's to everybody. Bye.
Thank you, Perry. Okay, opening comments. Josh, again.
Due to the COVID-19, we won't be able to host the holiday fair at Nahant Town Hall as we usually do. However, we do have Nahant Open Studios event organized by Heather Goodwin. Thanks for that, Heather. The event is on Saturday, November 28th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And it's scattered around town. There are a number of artists and crafts folks involved. There's a link on the nahant.org homepage on the community calendar so if you click on November 28th, it'll provide the details there, who the artists are and where they are located, their homes. So each artist will set up in their yard, driveway, or porch with their wares. If needed, there'll be increased street parking available. Obviously, all participants must wear face coverings, and even when you're outside, per the new orders and maintain the 6-foot social distancing in accordance with the governor's most recent public health order. But it should be a great event. A lot of local artists participating. I think Heather is on the phone. I don't know if you had anything to add, Heather. If you're still there.
Yes,
Oh,
thank
okay.
you. Thanks, Josh. Yeah, I just would like to add that, this would have been our 20th year for the Women's Club holiday show. So because it got canceled, I wanted to be able to organize something where our artists and small business owners still get to, sell their work to their loyal customers. It would have been the 20th year of this show. Also, the Women's Club, it's a fundraiser for them, so they're losing out on scholarship money, but they will have their own setup on Nahant Road where you can come and buy some art or make a donation to the Women's Club. The Historical Society will also be set up outside of the Valley Road, and the Garden Club will be making their wreaths and Christmas floral decorations. Those will be sold at an artist's house, the Halls on Wharf Street. So I do respect that this is a crazy time with COVID, and I've made all the artists aware that this is mask mandatory for themselves and the customers. I'm encouraging on social media that customers get in touch with the artists ahead of time. I've been promoting it all month long into October as well, so they can even make orders online and just pick it up at the day of the show. It's only a 4-hour event, so I really just wanted to spend some time over the past month and through December just showing the community that there are artists and there's business people here, that you can shop locally, you can shop safe, you can shop early, and you can do it all in our own community. And it gives us a way to all kind of work together through this.
Sounds great. Thanks, Heather.
Thanks.
For doing that.
Great.
Thank you, Heather.
Heather, is it cash only, or are artists
A lot
going to
of
be
people
able
accept
to?
Venmo, it can be digital. It's not something I've discussed with the artist. If that's something you want me to discuss with them as far as exchanging of cash. I know I do a lot of business on Venmo. I don't ever touch any cash with my business for the most part. But it is something I'll bring up with them in my next email.
I was asking as a prospective customer.
Cash always works. Nice.
But I think, as I was saying earlier, even before the governor's new regs came out, I think Heather has already thought a lot ahead of that and is putting that into place. So I think it's going to be another, successful, hopefully it's a beautiful day, and
I hope so.
Appreciate you putting it together, Heather.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you very much. I appreciate the support.
Okay, great. All right, thank you, Heather. Let's see. Now we've got some exciting news here. Let's see if I can find out where I'm at, my agenda. We have some appointments, 2 very big appointments.
All right.
The first appointment we're going to have it with is the fire chief, and then we're going to a captain appointment. So why don't we start with the fire chief?
Okay, I move to approve the appointment of Dean Palumbo as chief of Nahant Fire Department.
I'll gladly second that.
Motion's been made and seconded. Dean Palumbo, do I know him? I think so. So we have a discussion on this. Tony, do you want to start the discussion?
Yeah, I want to say that both, Dean and Austin, who are both on and are receiving these appointments, truly are models of Nahant employees and of the Nahant Fire Department. Both started off as call firemen and have worked their way up through the ranks. Dean has been with the fire department for 36 years. as I mentioned, started as a call fireman. He's been captain for the last 15 years. He was the first safe officer for the town of Nahant. And, you know, he has stepped up immediately, you know, in the wake of not having a chief in the last year. He's been acting as the chief. So, you know, I think it's well earned, well deserved by both. And Austin, you know, has been part of the fire department since 2004, and has been a full-time fire since 2009, and is the president of the labor union. And you know, I just think that both of these guys do such a remarkable job for us. We get nothing but compliments on all of our fire department staff. All, you know, whenever they're going out to a house call, we always get a number of compliments of you know, their professionalism, and it starts with these two gentlemen. So I'm very excited to put both of these appointments in front of you.
Well, thank you, Tony, and I'm very excited to endorse them. I can't say much more than what you've said. These two individuals are not only very experienced in what they do, very professional in what they do. They're great citizens of Nahant. They have a love for Nahant. I've unfortunately had to use medical responses over the last several years, and I couldn't be more pleased with their responses, at least to my house. And so I think we're really lucky to have both of you step up. So, Josh or Gene, any comments?
Yeah, I mean, I would just echo, you know, what you and Tony have said. These guys are consummate professionals, and, you know, part of the fabric of our community. And I think, you know, my own personal experience, you know, when my mother was needed help a couple times at 2 a.m, it was a great comfort to me to see. At that time, it was Dean and Nick Papagalis. But you know, when you're in a crisis situation, and you know, familiar face comes in, it gives you a lot of comfort. You know, that's sort of the personal side of you know, what these guys do in our community. So well deserved by both Dean and Austin. So thank you guys.
Yeah, hey, Mark.
Yeah, go ahead.
To Dean, I don't think it's any secret that I've undergone some serious medical challenges in the past years. And I'll tell you, Dean was instrumental in their resolution on several occasions. Him, his team, the whole crew. And it's one thing to hear the stories from outside, but to experience them personally and get the kind of treatment I got, that's why we're making a guy like Dean a chief and Austin a captain.
Yeah, I agree. So we're gonna start with Dean. Dean, do you want to say anything?
I want to say thank you for putting your faith in me to be in this position and to serve the citizens in Nahant. And I'm proud to be a firefighter in Nahant.
Great, Dean. We're lucky to have you. Thank you. Appreciate it. Any further discussion on the appointment of the chief?
I'll apologize that we're not doing it in person and a full swearing-in ceremony. And I hope that we will get to that sometime in the short future.
Yeah, that would be great. All in favor?
Josh Hantrum, aye.
Gene Canty, aye.
Mark Cullen and I. Congratulations, Chief.
Thank you very much.
Now, Gene,
Congratulations.
let me make this motion. You don't have it. I move to approve the appointment of Austin Antrim as captain of the Nahant Fire Department. Gene, you
And
want to
gladly
second
I'll second that.
Okay. Again, Austin, you know, you've it seems like yesterday that you got on, but you've been on for a long time, and you're responsible, I know, for, all the new apparatus we have down at the fire station with your grant writing skills and all of that. I know you've been very, very involved in the ocean rescue efforts. We are certainly lucky to have you on the team, and I can't be more happy than to endorse you as captain of the fire department. Tony, any words?
I just, like you said, Austin has, beyond the fire department, has been involved in the community for quite some time, and does so much for the community and for the fire department. And I know, I'm sure Chief Palumbo would like to say a couple words too, because I know Austin's presence down at the fire department is great. And I know the guys, look up to him a lot. So I'm very excited about this appointment as well.
Well, thank you all very much. I really appreciate your confidence in me and looking forward to this opportunity. So, thank you.
I'm sure you did good.
Thank you.
I've known Austin for a little while. Thanks for all you do, Austin, at the fire department and historical society, CPC, and everything else. Big part of this community, and appreciate all the effort.
Hey, Austin, we're very lucky to have you, pal, and you're an integral part of a really great team down there. And I know that personally, as I said. Thank you.
Good. Any other comments for Austin? Okay, great. All right, all in favor?
Josh Antrim, aye.
Gene Canty, aye.
Mark Cullen and I. Congratulations, Austin.
Congratulations, guys.
Thank you.
Okay. Now we got some surplus equipment we have to get rid of.
All right, this is the exciting part. I move to declare Highway E2020XT hydraulic salt spreader as surplus equipment, and that the equipment be placed on municipal for auction per Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 30B, Procurement Law.
I'll second that.
Motion been seconded. I've always wanted one of these, and now's my chance. Right, Tony?
You look good on the back
I don't think
here,
you want-
Toyota
I don't think you
pickup.
want this one.
It doesn't spread salt anymore, but it still look cool.
I don't know, my grandson, I bring it over for Christmas Day and put it in the front yard. He might have a blast with it.
Maybe you can fix it.
Okay, any further discussion on the motion? Seeing and hearing none, all in favor?
Josh Antrim, aye.
Gene Canty, aye.
Mark Cullen and I. Okay. Now we have Veterans Day's activity. I see Bob. I see you on call here.
We do have one more motion, the turkey shoot.
Oh, okay. Good. Let's get the turkey shooter. Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'll make a motion. I move to approve the event request from the Lions Club for the annual turkey shoot on Saturday, November 21st, 2020.
I'll second that.
Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion?
I know John Coulon and Sheila and Dave Wilson have been working together on this one. When the request came in again, the governor's new orders came out afterwards. So we're just working together to iron out those details. But again, it'll be spread out, mask required, 6 feet distance. I know they're working with John on that too.
Okay, great. All in favor?
Josh Antrim, aye.
Gene Canty, aye.
Mark Cullen and I. So we're going to talk about our Veterans Day's activities. It's going to be on November 11th this year. And I see Bob Fields is on the call. Bob, you want to talk about it a little? You're on mute. There you go.
Yeah, I got you. Sure, that'd be great. I had a chance to speak with Tony for a few minutes today, but The Nahant American Legion Post, I'm sorry, Bob Fields, commander of the American Legion Post, for those who may not know. We've been looking forward to this Veterans Day and the ceremony gathering at Veterans Park in the Lowlands this coming Wednesday, the 11th at 11 a.m. Essentially, all of our activities have been put on hold and suspended like many other organizations. So we were really looking forward to this. And like the rest of the town, we were a bit disappointed to see the community go into the red last week and to hear the governor's new orders this week. But, that being said, our plan is to continue on with reduced activities, recognizing this important and celebratory day. Veterans Day in the United States is observed to honor military veterans, specifically people who have served in the U.S. Armed Forces. It coincides with other holidays, including Armistice Day and Remembrance Day, which are celebrated in other countries that mark the anniversary of the end of World War I. This is a day the world recognizes and celebrates together. I'd also like to thank the town, the DPW, and the cemetery department specifically for their support in allowing us to help maintain the flags adorning our veterans' graves. When the flags are standing straight and billowing in the breeze, there are fewer, greater views in Nahant. The breeze, though, can sometimes be a gale, however, and the flags are susceptible to bending or falling over. So our members have been walking the cemetery to straighten them out. And we've really had great support from the folks at the cemetery, allowing us to do that, providing us access. So we'd really like to thank them for allowing that. So there'll be no other reception or gatherings other than the public ceremony at Veterans Park at 11 a.m. this Wednesday, the 11th. We invite the selectmen, the town administrator, and all of the citizens to join our American Legion Post, including our great women's auxiliary, to attend. And please wear masks, maintain your social distancing guidelines, and we look forward to seeing you and celebrating our town's veterans on this day, again, next Wednesday at 11 a.m. at Veterans Park in the Lowlands, not the cemetery, Veterans Park. Thank you.
That's great. That's great, Commander. And I will be there, and I hope many others can join us. Thank you and the Post for everything that you do. And while I have you here, and I can say this publicly now, I really appreciate you, Commander, and your members for your service at my father's gravesite a few weeks ago. It was really appreciated. My mother was so proud. So thank you very much.
We received a nice note from your mom. There's been a couple other veterans who have passed away, or there's been some ceremonies as well. Jim Storetti, another World War II veteran, and most recently Bob Silva, a Vietnam veteran, where we didn't perform any services, but it's our honor as the veterans and the auxiliaries to support the families and recognize the service of our town's veterans. So we appreciate the opportunity to be there with your family. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Okay, let's see. I have an announcement here. There's a vacant seat on the Open Space and Recreation Plan Committee, vacated by Dana Sheehan, another member of the Post, when he joined the Advisory and Finance Committee. Applications are due by Wednesday, November 18th, 2020, by 4 p.m. You can email to ktaylor@nahant.org. Joint appointment by the moderator and Board of Selectmen will happen shortly thereafter. So anyone interested in getting on that, please get your application in and take it into consideration. Anything else on that, Tony?
Nope, we posted it on Facebook. It's also on our website. So anybody interested, just please send in a letter of interest or a resume, and we'll make sure we get it to the Board of Selectmen and the town moderator for consideration.
Great. Okay, move on to ongoing business. 5A, preserving East Point, continuing discussion. I have no further discussion on this at this time. Josh or Gene?
I don't have anything at this time.
Okay.
Likewise.
Okay. So now we're going to go into a joint vote with the Board of Selectmen and School Committee to fill a vacancy. Tony, do you want to talk about this, the procedure and what we're going to do here?
Certainly. So I want to make sure that the school committee is on and unmuted. So I see Tom Tria. Let me unmute you. Where else?
Lori's here as
Lori.
well.
Lori.
And then I'm trying to figure out which attendee is Mary, which is our last committee member joining us this evening.
Mary, if you're on and can unmute or show your screen so we can unmute you. Not sure which one. I just want to make sure that you guys have.
Yeah, we need a
I know
quorum.
Lauren reached out to us earlier, your chairwoman, and Lauren Sherlock, and is unfortunately unable to attend tonight. So
Yeah, we have everybody else, Tony. So give me 1 minute, and perhaps if you guys
Sure.
can we move C to B, and then I'll call her and make sure she jumps on.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you so much. I
Good with you,
appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman.
Sure. Let me go back then.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it.
No problem. Let's see.
C is the discussion on the Logan Airport RNAV study.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. Go ahead. Do that.
Dan Scripp, are you unmuted? Let me see.
I sure am.
Okay, I know you joined the call yesterday with Mass CAC.
Right.
And I know Bob D'Amico was also on the call. Can you give us a little bit of an update?
I sure can. Last night was a quarterly meeting of the CAC, the Community Action Committee, and Bob D'Amico is actually a member of that 26-ish person committee, and he is dedicated to representing Nahant's interest. And he did a nice job of it last night, asking a few questions and piping in. But at the end of the day, the biggest issue that involves Nahant is that modified RNAV approach to 22 left, which now travels down the causeway. Travels down Linway right into the runway environment. If this modification goes through, it's going to cross over the causeway and then intercept at the final approach course on the Linway and then go right into the runway environment. That was not discussed last night, only because it wasn't on the agenda in this quarterly meeting. The next step with regard to this particular modified approach is for the CAC to organize a meeting with the communities, and that meeting will include Massport, CAC, elected officials, and maybe even that Dr. Hansen from MI2 who's conducting all these studies, and a representative from the FAA will be there as well. And we will keep the folks posted in terms of when that meeting will occur. It has not been scheduled yet. In fact, it won't be scheduled for at least weeks, probably not for a month or two, if not more. And that meeting will be focused on the impact of runway 22 left, the modification of what's called the approach to that runway. In terms of the bigger picture as to when that modification might come to pass, if it ever does, because it's got to go through local approval, state approval, and of course the feds have to sign off on it. That will not happen for quite some time. I was going back and forth with the chairman after the meeting last night on the email, and his guess is that this will not occur for at least a year, and that's conservative. It probably won't come to fruition for much longer after that. So nothing is imminent in terms of a change, and nothing really will happen for at least a year moving forward. But within that time, we will have a chance to be heard, as we were last night, moving forward.
Thank you, Dan. I appreciate that. I tried to get on, but it required a different app than Zoom. I didn't have it, so I couldn't make it. But just some people might be watching tonight. What we're talking about here is that Massport is considering exploring alternative flight paths that could significantly impact the town in the future. In response to that, the town administrator we're beginning to set up a task force of Nahant residents to begin to organize our collective responses to the impacts this may have in Nahant. So I want everybody in town to be aware of this. We're going to be having public meetings about this, public hearings. We need to get everybody involved. We need to speak with one voice. We need to make sure that that the impacts for the town of Nahant are not at the level that they could be. So it's going to be very important that we engage as a community in response to this. And we're going to have a lot of, Tony, I think you set up a separate website for this, haven't you?
Yeah, we're constructing it now, where, you know, a localized page, separate, you know, you could get there through nahant.org, but a separate website that, you know, will have all the information about the study, about the process, who to call, who to contact, any types of questions, ability to sign on to letters or petitions. So, you know, I'm happy to hear that we're well ahead of the curve on this. You know, Dan, for residents that are, or if anybody experiences a plane that goes over the town of Nahant now, there's a number for them to call, right?
Yes.
Can you talk to that?
Yes, there's a number you can call reporting any plane that you might have issues with in terms of noise or whatever other issue there might be. I don't have it with me now. I'll try to search for it and try to get it onto the chat by the end of this meeting. But if not, I'll share it with Tony, and Tony can possibly put it on the website.
Awesome. All right. Well, yeah, so we'll make sure it's on both nahant.org and on our our separate page on this issue. Certainly, someone's on the other line, someone's on the other end of that phone call, and they want to hear from us. So if you experience, you know, a loud plane, you can always call that number and let them know. They shouldn't be flying over our town currently. Sometimes they do. Dan, you can speak to that, you know, based on wind direction and weather impacts.
Well, it's that, and it's also what they call IFR traffic. If they're flying just on the instruments, chances are they're not going to fly over Nahant, and you're rarely going to see a big plane. I mean, anything bigger than a CRJ 900 seating about 100 people is going to come directly over Nahant. I know, Tony, you heard something this morning. We tried to find out what that was. We didn't have much luck, unfortunately. The biggest plane I've noticed actually fly literally over Nahant was a JetBlue regional aircraft, which is their smallest in their fleet. The big planes you'll see sort of more off beyond the causeway, or maybe sometimes over the causeway in a departure. What you will see, and here I should say, over Nahant, a lot of times you'll see Cape Air in their little Cessna 402s, a twin engine prop. You'll see those fly over Nahant all the time because they have much more, they're much more nimble in terms of they can cut sharper corners and whatnot. So you'll see that every now and again, maybe a Pilatus or two. But the big planes rarely come over Nahant.
Yeah. Well, they'll skirt Little Nahant occasionally, I think.
Yeah.
So,
Mostly in departures, not so much on the arrivals. But yeah, you're right.
Right on departures.
I heard one today, Mark, Mr. Chairman. I heard one today, and I called Dan right away. I was like, find out what plane just went over the town. I want to know right away, and because Dan's got an app on his phone, but
yeah,
we couldn't figure it out.
So we're fortunate to have town council also be a pilot. So
yeah, so this is fun for me. I enjoy it quite a bit.
And Bob D'Amico, who's on our noise abatement committee, is also highly involved in the CAC, right, Dan? So.
Oh, he's a member. He's an esteemed member. They all know each other, and last night was a very professional meeting. It was a business meeting, so they didn't have much comment from the folks just listening. But Yep, they work together very well.
Yeah, Tony, I know Bob D'Amico has chaired our noise abatement committee for decades, I think, at least back to 2000 or so. I think in our last meeting, we talked about maybe putting some new members on that. I know Rick Skirtis was interested, and
Yeah.
maybe a few others. Maybe even expanding that committee, perhaps, if we can, by vote of the Board of Selectmen. I'm not sure how that committee was adopted, either by town meeting or you might want to look into that.
Yeah, I haven't done that research yet, but I do need to take a look at how that was created.
Yeah, I don't know how many members are on it or if we can expand it, but if there are people who want to get involved and help on this cause, get in touch with the town administrator, because we're going to need everybody's help.
Yeah, this is an important topic, and I think, it seems like we have an uphill battle ahead of us here. So we're all going to need to pull together and get letters out and sign the petitions, because this is not good for Nahant, particularly little Nahant. So whatever you can do to encourage people, point them to that new website that's being created, and get our voices heard, because this is not going to be a good thing for our town.
Yeah.
Tony, maybe on that website, if there was a way that people could sign on to volunteer in any effort that they may help in the future, maybe you could figure that out somehow.
Yeah. So there's the draft website has an area to sign, put your email in so you can get alerts and updates. And then there's another portion where you can actually sign on to a petition or a letter. So I'm sure we can explore additional things like that.
The phone numbers and websites are appearing in the chat room, chat call.
Logan noise complaint online is in the chat. It looks like massport.com/logan-airport/about. Well, anyways, take a look on there. We'll copy and paste it onto the website, and the number is 617-561-3333.
Well, everybody stay tuned on this, and we'll try to keep everybody up to speed. Thanks, Dan. Is Bob D'Amico on?
I didn't see him. Rick Skirtis is on.
Right.
And I don't think Bob is on.
Okay.
Maybe I missed him.
Okay, great. All right, let's get back to the school committee. You have all your members?
It looks like that. Let me ask to unmute.
Yes, we do.
Okay, I'm also Regina and Patty. I'm going to ask to unmute you as well.
And Tony or Mark, can you help remind me where we landed procedurally? I know that we agreed that each of the applicants for the vacant position are going to give a brief statement. And then after that, do we decide on a vote, a hidden vote, or live?
So we have to do a roll call vote.
Okay.
So whenever we have a vacant seat in an elected board or committee, section 313 of the town charter says that the Board of Selectmen, along with the remaining members of that board and committee that has the vacant seat, have a joint vote to fill that seat in an interim position until the next election day, when the remaining length of that term is up for election. This seat, which is vacant by Patty Sheehan, who is on the committee for, I don't know if Tony or any members of the school committee want to say anything with Patty, but I know she was on the committee and was a great fit for that committee for a long time. She was actually up for re-election. I believe her term was up at the end of this year. So
Not correct. She was actually just elected for another term.
Yeah,
Okay.
she was only like 6 months into her.
Oh, all
3 year.
right. Oh,
Correct.
thank you for correcting me. So it's a 2-year term, right?
3.
3-year term. So in April, the remaining 2 years of her term will be on the ballot. And then do you have, how many other seats will be on the ballot as well?
2
2.
for a total of 3.
So you have a total of 3. So the person that gets appointed tonight will fill the seat until April, and they are welcome to, and anybody, of course, welcome to pull papers to run for this, for either the open, the remaining term of those of Patty's, which is 2 years. So what we did was we posted about two Board of Selectmen meetings ago. We posted it on our website, on Facebook, and we announced it at the Selectmen meeting. Anybody interested to please submit a letter of interest or, to the Selectmen and the school committee by X date. I forget the exact date. We got 2 candidates within that time frame who are on Zoom right now. Patty Karras and Regina Lane. I hope I pronounced those correctly. And what we'll do tonight is we will go through the school committee, then the Board of Selectmen, and I'll read your names in alphabetical order to vote out loud one or the other candidate. Prior to that, what I'd like to do is have the school committee motion to nominate each candidate to be on this ballot right now. And then after that, those 2 nomination motions go through, we'll have alphabetical order. We'll have Patty go first if you'd like to provide a verbal statement of interest, and then Regina second, and then after that, I'll do the roll call vote of both committees. So with that, I know Lauren is absent tonight. So if any member of the school committee would move to nominate Patty Karras for the vacant seat of Patty Sheehan.
So we're going to go through both and then they'll speak. Is that right?
Yes.
Yep. So I'll start making a motion to nominate Patty Karras for the open school committee seat.
And I'll second the motion. Open for discussion,
Okay.
correct?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, while we take the vote, hearing none, can we have a vote? Why don't we start with the school committee? We'll go in alphabetical order.
One moment, please. Are we not going to hear from the candidates prior to the vote?
We're just nominating right now. We're not deciding.
Okay.
They're just being nominated. So, let's see, I have an alphabetical order: Laurie, Lauren, Tom, and then Mary, and Josh, Jean, and myself. So this is just a nomination. We should nominate both candidates.
Okay.
And then they'll have a statement, and then we'll follow by a vote.
So I'll just read your name, and if you can say aye. Lori Ballantyne.
Aye.
Tom Tria.
Aye.
Mary West.
Aye.
Josh Antrim.
Aye.
Jean Canty.
Aye.
Mark Cullinan.
Aye.
Okay, great. And if a member of the school committee could please make a motion to nominate Regina Lane.
I'll make a motion.
Sorry, go ahead, Tom.
I'll make a motion to nominate Regina Lane for vacant school committee seat.
I'll second the motion.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, we'll take a vote.
Okay, Lori Ballantyne.
Aye.
Tom Tria.
Aye.
Mary West,
Aye.
Josh Antrim,
Aye.
Gene Canty,
Aye.
and Mark Cullen.
Aye.
Okay, so both candidates are now on the ballot. Going by alphabetical order, Patty, you are unmuted. The floor is yours.
Good evening, Tony, school committee, board of selectmen, members of the community. It is a pleasure to be here this evening. These are challenging times, and I want to help the children of Nahant have as normal of an education as much as possible, putting safety first. I'm a big proponent of education, and I have the greatest respect for Superintendent Parentazzi, Principal Andrews, and the school committee and the teachers that have worked so hard to enable our children to be back in school 5 days a week. This is an opportunity for me to share my business and life experiences to the benefit of the community. I am a finance professional that has over 25 years of experience, half of which have been in the not-for-profit sector. I spent 11 years as an executive working for National Geographic and was responsible for the budgeting and the financial reporting for all of its business lines. I am currently working as a consultant that is helping other not-for-profit organizations within the Boston area with their financial needs. I excel at solving problems, and I especially enjoy collaborating to tackle the tough challenges. And my life experiences, I believe, will lend a different perspective and may represent different groups in the community. I was raised in a very traditional and humble household by two wonderful parents that immigrated to the United States not speaking the language. When I started elementary school, I could not speak English, and I was bullied because I was different. In many traditional households, higher level education for girls is not encouraged. And I fought very hard for higher level education and obtained an undergraduate degree and moved on to obtain a master's degree. I want to ensure that students that have special needs receive the support that they need. I want to put an end to bullying, and I want to encourage children that they can be anything that they desire to be, regardless of circumstances. So I hope that you consider me for this very important seat in the school committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Patty. Regina?
I was muted. Does any member of the Board of Selectmen or the school committee have any questions for Patty?
No.
Okay, Regina?
Good evening. My name is Regina Lane. I live at 62 Little Nahant Road, and I want to thank you for this opportunity to share my interests in the open position on the school committee. My family and I moved to Nahant in 2015. One of the reasons we moved to Nahant was because of the highly ranked schools both in Nahant and Swampscott. We felt confident that our children would have access to a good education. Right now, we're in the throes of elementary school life. Our oldest son, Mason, is in the 5th grade. Our middle child, Brady, is in the 2nd grade. And Kiela, our youngest, is in preschool at the Johnson School. I've had a few years to learn the ropes with Mason as he started at the Johnson School in kindergarten, and I've become more involved as a class parent for my 2 boys, as well as serving on the school reopening committee this summer. Although a position in the school committee is something I've been thinking about for a while, it was through my involvement in the school reopening committee that really pushed me to take the step to apply. I'm impressed by the way our town has responded to the COVID pandemic and the thoughtfulness the school committee put into our reopening plan and adjusting as the needs of our school community have changed this fall. As a member of the school committee, I would like to be part of the team working to problem solve the changing needs of our student and school community. Beyond the immediate crisis, I would like to continue to support the school's development and seek ways that we can further improve upon our current academic offerings. Being a small town, I understand that our resources are limited, but we make up for it in the dedication of the community. I look forward to collaborating and supporting our relationship with Swampscott as well. I would be honored to earn a position in the school committee and be able to serve our community in this way.
Thank you, Regina. This is Mark Cullen speaking, but it's too bad we can't appoint both of you tonight. It's really unfortunate. I don't know, Dan, town council, maybe we can expand the school committee somehow, but
Maybe not tonight, but that certainly is an option for the future, no doubt.
we're really fortunate to have both of you as candidates, really, and it's good to meet you. I've never met either one of you before, but thank you for stepping up and offering me time. We really appreciate it. And whoever doesn't get appointed tonight, I hope that you take out your nomination papers as quickly as you can, and I'd be the first one to sign it. So unfortunately, we have to pick one. Both of you, from what I can see on your resumes and listening to you speak, would do an excellent job. So if you don't make it tonight, I'll certainly be there to help you make it in April if you desire. So, okay, Tony.
All right, thank you. I know Lauren, speaking with Lauren, who called me earlier to let me know that she wasn't going to make it. She had similar comments that both candidates, speaking on her behalf, that both candidates would be a great fit for the committee. So, and as I always say, the town of Nahant, honestly, is successful due to the volunteers in the community and the dedication of our residents. So really appreciate both you guys putting your name forward for this consideration. So I'm going to call. I have a ballot here in front of me that I will record the votes on, and again, I'll do it in the same order that I just did the nomination roll calls, unless anybody else on either committee has any question or comment.
Sorry, I was just going to quickly, thank you both for offering to help. As Mark said, it's tough, to have to choose one of you. And there's 3 seats on the ballot in spring, so I hope to see your names on it.
Yeah, and similar comments. I think you guys are both great candidates. And I think it's unfortunate that our chair couldn't be here today, but as the vice chair, I think within the next 6 months or so, I think you'll both be on the committee and be joining us either way, because you are excellent candidates, and I know you are both excellent members of the community, and we'd be lucky to have either of you at this point in time or in the future. And our students and administration at the school would be very lucky to have you as well. Tony, one point of reference for the vote order. Can we change it so that the Mary goes first, then Lori goes second, and then I go third? It's just a commitment I made to the school committee so that they didn't feel any pressure either way, and I would have to go last from at least the recommendations coming from the school committee.
Sure. Yep, that's fine with me. So I'll go Mary, then Lori, then Tom.
That's right.
Okay, Gene, yeah, go ahead, Gene.
Yeah, I've got a bit of a quandary here. I had an opportunity I took the opportunity to call both candidates, and not through her fault, but I was unable to get in touch with Regina because of my agenda. And I did have an opportunity to talk at length with Patty. And I'm just listening now to Regina, and I'm sure I'd have the same level of conversation with her as I have with Patty. So I don't know whether I'd be smarter to abstain here because I'm not giving equal time to Regina.
Oh, well, that's certainly your decision.
I'm going to abstain.
Okay.
All right.
All right, so, when I call your name, please, state either Patty Karras, is it Karras or Karas or
It's Karis, yes.
Karras? Okay. Please state Patty Karras or Regina Lane. So first, I will ask Mary West.
Regina Lane?
Lori Ballantyne,
Regina Lane.
Tom Tria,
Patty Karras.
Josh Antrim,
Regina Lane.
Gene Canty abstain, and Mark Cullinan.
Regina Lane.
Okay, so I have one, two, three, four votes for Regina Lane and one for Patty Karras. Congratulations, Regina. Patty, thank you for participating in this and putting your interest in. As you heard from everyone before the vote, both of you guys are great candidates, and don't be discouraged. Please put your name in the hat for the election in April.
Thank you, and congratulations, Gina.
Thank you, everyone.
Congratulations. And Patty, please give me a call. I'll be glad to support you in April.
Thank you, Mark.
Regina, we'll welcome you in the next meeting. Thank you so much. Patty, we'll talk soon.
Thank you, Patty.
Thank you.
Thank you to both candidates.
Regina, when you get a moment on either Monday, Wednesday, or Friday, maybe call ahead to schedule a time with the town clerk to come in and get sworn in. All right. Let's see, what's next on our agenda? School committee, if you guys want to motion to adjourn, if you want, you're welcome to do that now or wait until the end.
Tom, it's your call.
You're on mute, Tom.
Hold on.
Unfortunately, I can't take myself off mute, but thank you, Tom. Yeah, I know one of our members needs to get going, so I'll make a motion to adjourn the school committee meeting.
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Mary?
Aye.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you to the selectmen
All right. Thank you.
and the town administrator.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, what do we have now, Tony? Coyote activity?
Coyote activity, yes. So there's some background in your packet there. This was an item that was on our agenda at our last Board of Selectmen meeting, and unfortunately, shortly after, we had an incident in town where someone's pet, unfortunately, had a interaction with a coyote and did not make it. So I felt like it was necessary for us to continue the conversation and continue to educate folks on our options as a community and their options and guidance as residents. Dan Script, do you want to maybe just kind of reiterate what we talked about at the last meeting?
Sure. First, I want to say it's a tragedy, no doubt. A pet being taken like that, it's heartbreaking. So I think we can all empathize with that pet owner. We are coordinating with the state to get an expert to come in and give us a presentation on coyotes, much like we received back in, I think it was 2006 or something like that. So we're looking to get that done. I'm coordinating with the Mass Wildlife to do that. But to reiterate some points, I haven't read a story yet where I've learned of a pet being attacked while it was on a leash. That's number one. Number two, to the extent pets can remain on the pet owner's property, that's even better. But even to make a more proactive attempt to avoid these situations, it's a good idea, and it's being trumpeted by the state to make noise, and I know this woman did, but to take that to the next level, if someone has a handheld air horn that you can just buy pretty much at any Walmart type of place, that would be a wise idea as well. So just to be a bit more proactive in terms of anticipating issues and then being prepared to deal with them once they occur.
Thank you, Dan. So you'll let us know when that meeting's gonna happen?
Yes.
Yeah. Good enough. Yeah. Okay. Anything else from that, Tony?
No, I think I just, want to reiterate, that it's something that, the Board of Selectmen, speaking on your behalf to the residents, it's an important topic that we've explored. We've had Dan take a look. We've contacted Mass Wildlife. It's the last thing we want to do is wait until there's, a legitimate public health issue where, a child or a resident is attacked by, a rabid coyote of some sort. So, we've put that pressure on the state. We've reached out. We're trying to get there, and unfortunately, they're protected, and we really can't remove them or trap them for, just being in the hunt. And even unfortunately, the state doesn't view, the recent event, the attack with a pet as as enough reason to take the animal or relocate the animal. So, we really just need to understand, how to live with them, how to avoid interaction, and what to do when we do come into contact with them, and really push that out. So I know the police department has posted some information. We also have information on our website, and we'll continue to try to educate folks on what to do.
Tony, further to your points, number one, it's illegal to relocate because number one, you're just taking the problem from one place and moving it to another. So you're just sort of taking that issue and then putting it on some other community, like the noise abatement. If you're taking it from one community, you're putting it on another one. So there's an issue there, and there's also issues in terms of ecological concerns by just displacing animals from one place to another. But more importantly, if you take one coyote away from, I live right near Fox Hill Road. I know there's a coyote there somewhere. Another one's going to take its spot. So it's not going to do much by trapping one or even two, because there will be one or two here next week. Now, that's not to say if there's not a rabid one that we've found, that's a whole different story. Now, if that's the case, then we're well within our rights to take some action. But as Tony mentioned, just because they coexist with us does not provide sufficient reason to get them out.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you, guys. Tony, you have on town administrator's report?
Yeah, so I have a streetlight conversion project update. We're about 67% of the way, somewhere close 70% of the way through the install project. We have received, positive feedback, concerns or negative feedback as well from the brightness of the lights. We did pick, if you're driving out of town at night, and you compare the brightness of these lights to what's on the causeway, the new lights that we've installed are not as bright as those. We tried to pick something that was warmer, less blue, was dark sky compliant. the lights are certainly more directive. At our last Board of Selectmen meeting, when I was leaving town, it was dark and it was actually quite foggy, and you could tell the difference between the old lights and the new lights, where if you looked up at the old lights, it was almost like a ball of light that pointed in every direction. It was yellow and it was dim. I mean, I don't think there's, if you go take a look at the dumpster that has the old lights in it, every single one of them was either cracked, water, nest, wiring, every single one of them was on its last leg. So, but they also pointed upward and instead of directive down, which these new LED lights point directly down. Now, some of them, especially if you're across the street and the pole isn't perfectly 90 degrees, they can shine a little bit high and into, and it's an adjustment, especially, I wish we had installed them earlier in the summer when it got dark later. But by the timing of right now with the clocks rolling back, it's getting dark earlier, and it's certainly very noticeable, and it's definitely a change. So if anybody, if folks feel that the light is shining right into their window, we've reached out to our contractor for shields that basically go on the front side of the light and help even more direct the light downward. So, just call the town hall, or email Mary Lowe or call DPW, and we have a running list, those locations. We're looking into about 100 shields. There's like a 3-week lead time. We're hoping to utilize the same contractor that's installing the lights to install the shields. We don't have a bucket truck ourselves. So what we'll try to do is install the shields in groups and over time, because simply we just can't, we can't just go install one, call somebody in to just install one shield. We want to do it in bulk ways. So, there's obviously a ton of environmental benefits and financial benefits too. I got a projected savings from Tanko Lighting, our contractor on this job. The total cost of our project is about $227,000. The payback period, and this doesn't even include the additional funds we'll get back from National Grid for making the investment and an additional grant from MAPC, but not including those, which if we did include it would even shorten the payback period. It's a 2.9 year payback on the investment, and over a 20-year period we will save $1.3 million in utilities. So there's certainly a huge advantage to making.
I didn't know you were coming.
Dan's dog is getting away.
Yeah. I hope she gets him back. So that's pretty much my update. I just want to let folks know that if you're experiencing any displeasure with the lighting after being converted to LED in your area, please call the town hall, and we may be able to install a shield that will help with that impact.
Okay, great. There was another, on that, there's Suzanne McAvelli asked Tony if this on the specs, are 3,000K, 4,000, or 5,000?
They're 3,000 and less. Some lights are, all street lights are less than 3,000, like your standard street light is less than 3,000. We have certain lights at the town hall, playgrounds that are a little bit brighter and a little bit larger. But they're not those are more like spotlights, parking lot lights. So some of the lights we ordered a little bit brighter, but anything that is along the street pointing downward, those are 3,000 less than 3,000 K.
I think you answered Michelle's question was, what is the process for residents to request an adjustment to a street light that is directly in front of their homes? I think you discussed that. Also, Suzanne wanted to know if we will be turning off during off-peak hours.
So when we purchase these streetlights, we purchased the model that is control ready. We did not have the funds in our budget to purchase controls, but they can take controls. So it's something that we may consider in the future that would only add to our savings and help with some of the issues that we're hearing from residents. That would allow us to dim, like a thermostat, dim certain areas of town at certain times.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have that ability right now.
Okay, but we could add that at some point.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I think so. Once we complete this project, we're then eligible for competitive grants with the Green Communities program. And our next project on our list is public building interior lighting, which produces a number of savings converting to LED. So that's our next Green Community project on the list.
Tony, what kind of cost is associated with that control lighting?
You know, I don't know how much it would be, but all I know is we didn't have it in our original budget. So I want to say that we had, I got to think back to 2 town meetings ago. I want to say we had about 250 grand maybe, or 240 grand. And this project came to about 227. So, you know, I don't know how much it was, but we didn't have it in the budget.
No, I was just thinking about the savings in installation versus the cost.
Oh, there's definitely, yeah. That's like an analysis we will do and we'll be required to do. Should we pursue Green Community funds to help us with that purchase, that project? I know that honestly, the interior lighting LED project produces the biggest return on investment out of, by far for our community. But this past year, because the governor's initiative of converting streetlights to LED across the state, it was the first time that they actually allowed communities to use their grant money, not just for the conversion cost, but also for the purchase cost. So in the past, towns had to find funding on their own to buy the lights, and then they could use Green Community money to convert. When that opportunity came up, we jumped on it because obviously it's a huge return for us using the grant money to purchase and convert. So it kind of jumped it in front of the interior lighting project. So I think probably after we, if we're lucky enough to get the next grant, convert our interior lighting, it'll probably come soon after that. Unless, of course, we borrow for it on our own. So yeah, I guess basically, if anybody has any issues and wants to let us know, we have a list going. I don't actually have it. Mary in the DPW department is maintaining that list, and those are the first locations we will install the shields.
Okay.
I'll say that, in other communities that we reached out to, this was something that, we kind of expected. It's common. It is kind of like you get used to it after a while. The brightness and the change. It happens when any community makes this conversion. But with that being said, we still want to try to help out, residents that are getting light into their homes. So the shields is the best short-term way for us to do that. I don't have it on my, is there any other questions about streetlights before I move on to my other?
No.
So the other thing I just wanted to provide an update on, which isn't on the agenda, but there's no vote necessary, is we had our call with DEP regarding the draft administrative consent order that we received after our most recent sewer main break. And essentially what that is DEP is saying to us, you've had repetitive breaks with your sewer main over the last few years. And with those breaks comes environmental harm. We need concrete dates, timelines as to solutions as to when you're going to make repairs and prevent these breaks from happening again. They're also looking into II issues in town, which is inflow and infiltration. So if we have cracks in our pipes where water is getting into the pipes, or if people have downspouts or sump pumps going into their sewer, those are things that DEP statewide is really cracking down on. So we had a great call with them the other day. Dan's on the call here. He was on the call with us. It was me, Zach Taylor, Dan Script, Jeff Blake, Dan Coughlin from Coughlin Engineering, and Tom Simbo from Wright Pierce with DEP. And we went through basically our plan and our timeline. They fully understood what we were going through. They decided they had calculated a fine of $9,000 about, and they determined to suspend that fine so long as we're able to, meet the dates and timelines that are going to be in the final consent order. But they're all dates that they were, they worked with us collaboratively. They didn't put, they listened to us as to what our planned schedule was, and then, putting those dates in writing and in the consent order. So we do have some tasks to accomplish in the short term and in the long term. But we're more than confident that we're going to be able to do that. Dan, do you have any other comments on that?
Nothing more than this is not an unusual phone call. This happens all the time around the Commonwealth. Whenever the DEP just wants to get something moving, they submit this ACO, which is a consent order, administrative consent order, and it's usually a very friendly thing, and it was on our call. So this is a mutual cooperative effort, and we will set new deadlines and we'll meet them.
That's good, Tony. I was on the pre-meeting conference call you had and learned a lot. It seems to me like you have a very good capital plan in place. We need to work on how that capital plan is going to be funded over the next number of years. So I think you've got most of the parts in place, and hopefully we'll be able to deliver to DEP the information that they're looking for.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a good outcome, that the fine is suspended if we meet the deadline. So thanks for the efforts there.
Thank you, Dan. Appreciate it. Okay, anything else, Tony?
Can I bring up one thing? There are a couple meteor showers coming up, Leonids in mid-November and the Geminids in mid-December. And I'm wondering if we can work with the police department to keep Lodge Park and Bailey's Hill open on those nights so that people can take a chance to view those meteor showers. The dates are November 16th and 17th for the Leonids and December 13th and 14th for the Geminids. Both, the moon is very, just a sliver on all four of those nights, so perfect for meteor shower watching.
Absolutely. I'll work with Chief Dwyer on that and then work with you on getting that out to the public.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Sounds good, Josh. Do we need a vote on that, Tony?
I wouldn't, I always get weary of taking votes on things that weren't on the agenda.
Okay.
I'm happy to work with Chief Dwyer, and if we need a vote, we can add it to the next meeting. I don't know.
The only reason I bring that up is because I know our
Next meeting's the 19th.
rules and regulations, our public spaces are open from dawn to dusk. So we need to suspend that for those dates under a vote. That would be glad to do that.
Dan, do you think we can accomplish this without a vote, and if it's more of an event, an organized event?
I don't think we really need a vote for that. I think the organized event, COVID compliant, is fine.
Okay. It's all the better. All right, thanks, Josh, for bringing that up.
Yeah, sorry I didn't, I just read about it this morning, so short notice.
That's not a problem, Josh. It's not a problem at all.
Okay, up to Citizens Forum. Will we get anything in the chat room here?
Yeah, there's a number of things.
Okay.
Let's take a look.
We start at the top and work our way down.
Yeah.
Okay, first one is Michelle Capano. I'm going to ask to unmute.
Hey, thanks, Tony. I know we talked earlier on the Board of Health. My question is, how many residents in town have been tested for COVID?
So Deb Murphy on the last call had mentioned that it was somewhere around, I thought she said somewhere around like 1,600 tests. Now, some of that may be multiple tests on the same person. And that isn't only Swampscott. And during tonight's meeting, I sent an email over to Chief Archer at Swampscott asking him to send me next week an update, a list of how many Nahant residents took advantage of Swampscott. So I don't have that number yet, but if my memory serves me right, I think the health nurse mentioned about 1,600 tests of Nahant residents have occurred, throughout the year so far.
All right.
Let's see. There's some comments here, not really questions. Ken Carangelo had put the phone number up for the noise abatement office. Again, it's 617-561-333. And you can report it by, logging online or by calling, and it's staffed from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. on business days. Suzanne Macarelli, are you still on the call, Suzanne? Let me see. Here we go. Where are you? I'm gonna try to unmute you.
Hey, Tony.
Hi, Suzanne. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Good. So you had a couple comments on there about the airplanes and lights. So I figured I'd unmute you and let you participate in the forum.
Yeah. So Dan said to text him when the planes are going over Little Nahant by and ID them for me. He emailed me separately. So, besides that, the streetlights, I think you answered all the questions. They're 3,000 K or less. Perhaps sometime in the future they'll be dimmed in off-peak hours, correct?
Yes.
And then as far as the shields go, which seems to be maybe the most immediate solution to the light intrusion for those of us that live rather close to the road and close to the street lights, what's the schedule for installing the shields?
So it's a 3-week. Zach had sent me an email earlier today saying that he called a contractor and it's a 3-week lead time to get the shields in town. So I know that with every, even with the lights, things got delayed. But that's what they told us, a 3-week lead time. So hopefully no delays. We have them in 3 weeks and we get them installed, as soon as they get here. I can't control, hopefully there's no delays in transport.
Okay, great. I think that's like probably the best immediate solution to the problem for those of us that, again, like if they shine right into your house, that I think the shield will remedy that.
It should. It definitely should help.
Okay, thank you, Tony.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for being part of the noise abatement project as well.
Oh yeah, I'm on it.
Ken Carangelo. Let me see where.
Hello there.
Hello there.
Sorry, well, the reflection is annoying. Yeah, so Tony, thank you, and thanks everybody. I put in the chat some the questions, so they're in writing in detail. But this is regarding some follow-ups on East Point and eminent domain. So the first question, and also a thank you for the appraisal summary dated September 9th. That substantially answered the public records request that I had put in asking for appraisal information that went into the second statement, and has the details that weren't provided there. That September 9th summary values the conservation easement at $1.87 million for 12.45 acres at $150 an acre. The Selectmen's second statement from back in June called for 4.5 million, including 500K for legal fees for a taking of somewhere between 12 and 15 acres. So I guess the first question is what changed?
Let me try to answer some of these, Tony. The best way. Josh, you can jump in too. Well, first, what changed? The second statement by the Board of Selectmen, we didn't have the completion of the 9/9/2020 appraisal. Our statement was largely based on some professional consultants that was retained earlier, and some of what their opinions were. Also, the second statement was at a, outside of, I think, 15 acres. And when looking at it now, we're looking at about 12 and a half acres. So that's changed. I think the number that our appraiser has come up with is more refined, and one that we can, I think, rely on more heavily. The other thing that is changing, there are many variables here. The question is, do you take a conservation restriction? Do you take a a fee interest taking. So they have different values, depending on how you approach it.
Mhm.
So, you know, there are a few variables that change, and you know, the board will be meeting with town council and our appraisal and our eminent domain attorneys to refine this as we move forward.
So I'm sorry, Mark, apart from the conservation easement, what was the other thing that you mentioned? The other
Well,
approach?
there could be a fee. You know, we could take the property, take ownership of the property.
Hmm.
I mean, that's the taking also. That may carry a different price tag. Or we can just take it by putting a conservation restriction over the property. So there are different taking methods that
Mhm.
we looked at.
Okay, but just to be clear, the 1.87 million one that was most recently distributed to people was based on the conservation easement approach, not an actual taking.
Yes.
Okay. Does since 1.87 million is well below the expected donations of 3 million, does that mean you will pursue eminent domain just based solely on the gifted amounts and not require borrowing or taxpayer involvement?
We'll certainly have a discussion. The board will have a discussion on that. We'll include probably the finance committee. You know, we'll see. You know, the donations, the private donations, we have to further discussions with them, whether or not their pledge of $3 million was based on, you know, a certain amount that the town kicked in. So those things will have to be worked out.
Okay. Is there a timeline for that? I guess it's not one of the written questions here, but are we looking at addressing this in the next annual town meeting, or should we anticipate a special town meeting before then?
Well, ideally, I would like to wait until next annual town meeting to address it, but that will depend on the actions of Northeastern. If they force us into having a town meeting, I think I said earlier, then I mean, I'm not opposed to calling a special town meeting to address it if we have to. But I would prefer to wait to the annual town meeting.
Okay, thanks. Just going back to what's embedded in the 1.87 million thing, you know, one of the components of the appraisal is the highest and best use. Do the assumptions around what the highest and best use of the property be include, or does it account for what Northeastern loses in terms of what they planned to do? In other words, the value of the use that doesn't exist today but would exist if they did what they wanted to do.
Tony, you might want to jump in on this, or Josh, or Gene. I don't believe the highest and best use assumes future developments.
I can actually help out with this, Mark.
Go ahead.
The highest and best use really is premised on the fair market value, but the fair market value will be influenced by the economic potential that's likely of the property. Now that's, you know, what's likely in terms of economic potential, that, you know, that's a battle of the experts. So it will consider to some extent the likely economic potential of future development, but there's going to be a limit to that based on where it is and what it is. So it's not just what's there right now. Yes, they can look into the future and say, well, had I been able to develop this property within the law, it would be worth this. So that is part of the calculation. And you can bet Northeastern is going to try to bounce that number up as high as they can. And, you know, Jeff and the guys will take that number and diminish it as much as they can as well. It'll be the battle of the experts at the end of the day. But to answer your question most directly, yes, they do consider the potential, economic potential of the property.
Okay, but just to make sure I'm reading the summary correctly, and that is based on it's being not able to be developed in any form because it's conservation land. So basically, it's assuming that no one could do anything with it.
It's assuming that there's no commercial value to it.
Okay. Okay. So I guess the experts decide on this sometime during the litigation later.
Yeah, I think the answer, if your question is the 1.87 include the planned development that Northeastern has in mind. I don't believe it does. It's the town's experts putting together the highest and best use as a conservation easement. What would be the highest and best value of that property with a conservation easement on it, which would not include that development, I believe.
I think you're right, Tony.
Okay.
I think that, Tony, something that we've talked about a little bit, but we should arrange for sort of a Q&A, a specific Q&A session with the eminent domain lawyer, who is, you know, certainly the foremost eminent domain lawyer in Massachusetts, I think, and known throughout the country. So that would be, we should try to set that up sooner rather than later. So some of these very specific legal questions and questions about the appraisal can be, you know, you can get a thorough and learned response, Ken. So we should try to schedule that. Because I'm sure
it would be helpful. Also, I don't know if that implies that you've settled on strategy yet, or if that's still, if that discussion. I'm sorry.
I didn't hear what you said.
So I'm sorry. So with the Q&A, does that imply that you've established the strategy that you want to pursue, or would this be more just general Q&A about the different potential approaches?
Well, it's you know, it would be a conversation with the eminent domain lawyer that we've been consulting with.
Okay.
Just a question I'd like to ask, and that is, it was just brought up. How could that property have any commercial value? It's a resource area, it's a conservation property.
Right.
Well, go ahead, Joe.
Go ahead.
So our attorney, appraiser are looking at what could be built by, within the law. So, because it's in the natural resource district, it's limited to educational and religious, not commercial, not housing. So those aren't. That's
my question.
Yep. So those are not included in that evaluation because they would not be permitted.
Okay.
But the follow-up question I think Ken was asking was, Northeastern, when they're making an argument of what the highest and best use of the property is and the value of that property, they're probably going to include their educational development, which is could be permitted by law. So, but with this 1.87, it wasn't including that because it was projecting a value of a conservation easement, which would not allow for that educational development. Does that make sense?
Yes.
I think we discussed this before, Ken, that what Josh was saying, that we're trying to set up a public sort of meeting where we have our consultants come in, our attorneys come in to answer these specific questions. I'm not an attorney. I've been involved in a lot of these discussions, but I don't want to say something I shouldn't be saying, or agreeing to something that I shouldn't be agreeing to, or offering information that I shouldn't be offering, given all of the legal issues that could come to play here. So I think, hopefully I answered some of your questions here. And I think before the town takes any action, I hope soon, we can set up that meeting where the public can be invited to ask all of the types of questions that you're asking.
Okay, thanks. And one last one just on this topic, it's listed as 4. There are people cited in the appraisal summary, 2 attorneys on the front and the appraiser. You actually mentioned it earlier today. You referred to, experienced professionals, and the summary talks about independent appraisal professionals. Between the second statement and the appraisal summary, are those three people listed the professionals that were involved, or were there others consulted as well?
I think it was just, obviously the appraiser, he could have, in his due diligence, talked to other colleagues in the field and those types of things.
The selectmen, I guess, is in preparing the two documents there. It's you guys.
They were limited to town council and the eminent domain council, I believe, Tony, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I gotta look at who is on the website, who's listed there.
It's Jeff Blake.
Appraisal summary, it's Jeff
Masterman
Blake and James Masterman, and the appraiser, Leland Logue, is identified along with his, effectively his resume.
So there was the only person missing there, I think, would be Steve Foster, who worked with Jim Masterman originally on that comparison analysis.
I'm sorry, and who's Steve?
Steve worked with Jim Masterman a few years back to do a comparative analysis of the property and other, like a comps on other sales of educational properties that have gone up for sale in recent years in the area. Other properties similar to East Point, which obviously there's not a lot, but Steve Foster, I forget I don't know, I can't recall what, firm he was a part of.
I think what Ken's asking is, were there any other people involved in preparing that summary other than Blake, Masterman, and our appraiser? And I don't believe there were. Those who were the principal authors, the board asked them to prepare the summary, and I believe they prepared it.
Okay.
Correct.
So I guess extremely directly, was there anyone from the Nahant Preservation Trust involved in the preparation of either of those documents?
No, not to my knowledge.
Okay. Thanks. I have another, but there's another. I think Michelle's got something in line ahead of me here. So, but thank you for the East Point update.
I have Alice Court is actually next. I don't know. I'm going to try to unmute, but the question was there any information about what time the coyote attack occurred?
I actually, several people answered me privately. It apparently occurred at 7 p.m. and I was suspicious it had occurred at dusk, as that's a common time. So it may be worthwhile to let people know, that might happen. It also came to mind when Josh was asking for permission to go up to East Point in the evening to look at the meteor showers, because in the middle of the day when Northeastern was plowing down trees and so forth on East Point, I had a coyote come running up the hill when I was walking on East Point. So obviously there are coyotes in that neck of the woods as well. I had a few questions that come up later. I don't know if you want me to do them now or do it in order.
That's fine. That's fine. Go ahead,
Okay,
Alice.
thanks. Well, a neighbor asked me to try to follow up on the permission about trees on Valley Road. Another neighbor had gotten an arborist in who apparently thought that the major tree they were worried about had been attacked by ants but seemed to be healing. But ultimately the question is, do neighbors have the permission to take down a tree that's on their property, but it might qualify as a town tree, or are there any special steps? I don't have to have an answer on that tonight, but I just thought that, at some point, if we can finish that discussion and let it be known clearly for the people along our entire block that have these very large 100-year-old trees that are sort of aging out, that they're worried about, especially since that last storm took down several other large trees at the base of Valley Road. I don't want any of the trees to come down if they can be kept, but you know, I think every property owner has the right to sort of figure out what is, you know, what their rights are. So, Dan, were you able to get any further information?
No, not yet. Mark Carbone and I are going back and forth a little bit. It really comes down to where the property lines are that separate the public way from the private property. And if the tree bisects that line, or to any degree, it's a public shade tree. The problem in a public shade tree, according to the statute, seems to be under the direction and control of the town tree warden, which in this case is Mark. The problem that Mark and I both have is that seems to indicate that the tree warden is responsible for that half or that portion, which could be 75% of the tree, for example, is responsible of the tree warden. It's his responsibility to go to that tree, even if it is on private property for the most part, and prune it and trim it. So there's what they call an anti-aid amendment that prevents town money being used for private purposes. So there's that issue we're trying to skirt, and we're working on that now. But the good news is that, as you mentioned earlier, the primary tree we're concerned about in front of, I think it's 10 Valley Road, it is a healthy tree, and there is no, at least imminent, knowable risk of that coming down anytime soon. So then we start there and we work outward, and that's what we're doing now. And I actually have to go out there and meet with one or two folks, but it's in the process of working itself out.
Great, thanks. And then lastly, I was interested in, as based on the conversations that we had at the last Board of Selectmen's meeting about urging people to get COVID-19 tests, even if they were asymptomatic. I was interested in getting it done in the free site in Swampscott. And it's just really hard to find the actual hours and the location of the free site. I went, you know, a couple of times into the Nahant.org site, and you have a link that shows you like dozens of sites to get tested, but it's not actually giving the free site. And then I called Swampscott. You know, I was searching on Google to get Swampscott. Even the number they give to call for information, the person who answers the phone says, "Well, that's not what we're doing," so forth. So you know, I know that it's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, and so forth. I just thought it would be helpful if it's front and center on the on the COVID-19 page. So and also it's a sort of tricky way around that church by Governor Baker's house, where you have to get in line, and the line, it was fairly long when we did it. You know, so you have to know which street to approach it by around the back of the church, because a long line of cars will be moving slowly up into the driveway. So some indication about that, I think, will make people's lives easier.
Absolutely. It was on, as you said that, I just checked our homepage because it was on there at one point. So it must have got bumped off for some reason. So I'll definitely check into that.
And they added a day. So
they added a day.
Make sure that, you know what the hours are and what the days are and so forth.
Yeah, definitely. And just back on your tree question too, Alice, you know, we basically have a no net loss policy when it comes to healthy trees. So, you know, if a town tree is unhealthy, it needs to come down. That's one thing. If we have a healthy tree, there is a process that we have for a tree hearing. But essentially, if it's healthy and a resident wants it to be removed, not only would they have to pay for that, but they'd also have to pay for the replacement of a tree or multiple trees of equal size or value of that tree that's being removed. So it's a pretty strong policy on ensuring that we don't, just start cutting down trees because we don't, just because simply we don't want them. We do want to try and keep as many trees as possible.
Right. I think that what the issue on Valley Road is that we believe that the trees are actually all on our properties, or else just a little bit of the roots are, approaching the sidewalk. And yet we've been told in the past that we couldn't do anything to them. So people just want it clarified, are the trees on our property? If we want, if people wanted to trim them or whatnot, who's really responsible? Because we've gotten mixed messages from tree wardens over the passage of time.
So if they're town trees, we can actually, utilize town resources to help with the problem after going through a certain process.
Right.
If they're not town trees, then we can't help with town resources. That's what Dan was talking about. And it's the responsibility of the homeowner. But Dan's on it. I know he's on it, doing the research on, what those are considered public shade trees or not.
Right. And we appreciate it. Thanks very much.
Thank
Allison,
you.
I know I owe you a visit. I haven't forgotten, so I'll get to your place and we'll look at those plans I know you have.
Oh, okay. Well, I've now they're buried under a mess on my desk.
We'll dig them out. We got to look at them.
If you're going to come, then I'll find them again.
Start digging now.
Thanks.
All right. So next was Michelle Capano, and that was about what the process is for residents who have an issue with the street light. So again, please contact the town hall or DPW, email either Kristen Taylor at ktaylor@nahant.org or Mary Lowe at mlowe, @nahant.org, and we will put those on the list. Let's see. The next one was about the specs and the peak hours. We talked about that. When the shields are being installed. Let's see. Cora had said, Cora Long, was a question. The lowest is 3,000 K. What is the lowest watts that can be used? I'd have to look further into that. I know that we really emphasized the lowest wattage or warmest, light LED version that we could get. But I'd have to follow up with Zach or our contractor on that question. Michelle Capano, I'm going to unmute you again. You're up next with the question about the DEP administrative order. You also had wrote in the chat there, was there a public meeting on the streetlight conversion? Well, it was authorized. I guess there were a number of green community meetings where we talked about it and identified it as as an initial point of focus. It was a big issue at town meeting when we approved borrowing for the project as well. And then just Board of Selectmen meetings giving updates as to when it was going to occur.
Thanks, Tony. That's helpful. I think one of the things is a takeaway for the next project the town considers is really to continue to solicit more resident feedback, because just seeing some of the comments and just talking with others, I think residents are feeling like they should have been at least had more either dialogue or communication about, how this was going to be impacting residents, given, some residents are experiencing some negative effects of the streetlight conversion.
Yeah, definitely. I felt like we did a lot of that. Obviously, it's hard to capture everybody, and especially in this scenario, it's hard to know who's going to be negatively impacted until the light's installed, right? Because, some poles are 90-degree and have no impact. The light's performing great, and, some poles are a little slightly back or whatever. So Some of it it would have occurred after the install anyways, but, certainly, we're big on public process, so appreciate that comment.
And then my other comment was I was just curious in terms of the administrative consent order from the DEP, not well versed in this, but I'm just curious to know what does that do to the town's bond rating, if anything, for future borrowing on projects that would be in this space?
I don't think it has any negative impact on our bond rating. I could definitely double check with bond counsel on that. But it's, they're not levying any fine against us. They're suspending that. Certainly, in that conversation, they also talked to us about, coming back for more revolving fund borrowing to accomplish future sewer-related projects. So, I don't think that they're trying to hurt us in that way. I think they want to help us in that way. I don't think it has any impact on bond rating. I'll double check.
Thanks.
Yeah, I don't think it would, Tony. I mean, I think our debt to revenue ratio is still pretty good in town, and I couldn't imagine that it would.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next was Alice Court on Valley Road trees. I think we took, and the COVID testing, I think we got that. Ken Carangelo, let me see where I unmute you. You're back. You're back up in the chat.
Hello. Just wanted to follow up from, I think it was August, the gift letter or gift agreement between the town and the Nahant Preservation Trust was amended to allow them to give gifts without each one individually needing to be approved. And Dan, I think your suggestion at the time was file FOIA requests. So consider this the alternative, which we also discussed at the time. Since then, and just taking, say, September 1st as a semi-arbitrary date, what gifts has the town received from NPT?
Tony, do you have the numbers in front of you?
I don't. Something we can certainly pull together for you though, Ken.
Okay. Thank you.
Will you do you mind shooting me an email on it, Ken?
Nope. I'd be happy to.
You mentioned in your comment that, Ken, that it was adopted by the Board of Selectmen in August. It was amended maybe in August by the Board of Selectmen, but the original gift agreement is well over 2 years old.
No, I understood. It's poorly written. I was referring to the amendment.
Okay.
That's what that changed.
Gotcha.
Thanks.
And we continued number 4, Ken?
That was just, it cut off up ahead.
Oh, okay.
Covered it earlier, so you can ignore that one.
Okay. Let's see. And your next one is same or?
Yeah, I think we're up to date for my stuff. The thing after me in the chat is, I'm not sure who Deborah JJ is, but talking about trees at the base of Valley Road.
Well, I don't know if that's a question or not. But.
Deborah JJ, I'm going to try to unmute you if you can state your name and, by the way, we probably should, repeat, we should be, during citizens forum, you should be stating your name and address. But Deborah, I'm going to try to unmute you. I know it's not really a question. If you could just state your name and address and your comment.
Yeah, hi Tony, it's Jim Devereaux, 54 Valley Road.
Hey.
Trees fell all around us, and as Alice said, I think for many years we've heard that the town trees are not town trees, but that they are literally falling all around us. So, if the town doesn't clean when the branches come down, then they can't be town trees. So I think, the citizens have to deal with them themselves and not be held up by any of this situation that's been going on for a long time.
Okay. So what you're saying is that in the past, when tree branches have fallen, the residents have taken care of that?
Yep. In this past storm, I'm talking 2 weeks ago or whatever, when trees fell all over the place here.
Oh, okay.
I had 2 big branches fall. My neighbor had, trees fall over his house. People across the street had trees fall. I know the one across the street wasn't really on the road, but we always have heard this thing about them being town trees or not being town trees. And if the town doesn't clean them up, then they can't be town trees. You can't have it both ways.
So Jim, are you saying that the branches that fall on your property, you're expecting the town to come on your property and remove the branches? Or are you talking just sidewalk?
Sidewalk.
Stuff? Oh, I
Sidewalk.
see. Okay. All right.
And the street, more the street than the sidewalk last time.
Yeah.
Well, they're all public ways, so. Yeah.
And I'm not really complaining about the town picking them up. All I'm saying is you can't have it both ways. You can't, hamstring the town, the resident from having trees that are literally falling on every storm and say you can't prune them or cut them. If the town doesn't clean them when they fall in the sidewalk in the street, don't try to claim ownership of them.
Yeah. I think that we're trying to understand, because I think that I may be getting this wrong, but I think in some cases we're being asked to help with the trimming or removal of trees, in which case, if we don't have any ownership on them, we technically cannot use town resources or funds to do that. Vice versa, if somebody's trying to remove a tree that's considered a public shade tree, we do have a policy there that if it's healthy, you're not allowed to do that unless you're going to replace it. But I see your point there, Jim. When a tree falls, when a tree falls and lands on someone's house, typically, homeowner calls their insurance. It's kind of like it kind of falls into a unique category of removing it. And I know our guys did come in afterwards and help clean up the sidewalks and stuff, but I do see your point there. I see your point, and I think we're just trying to try to get it right.
I think, Tony, what Jim is saying is there's sort of a conflict here. I think the problem that the town has is that we can't document that it's a public shade tree, right? That we have no documentation of it at town hall. But I believe that those linden trees on Valley Road were probably planted by the town some 100 years ago or whatever. The problem is there's no documentation. Is that right, Dan?
Yeah, there's nothing. They're just rumor and conjecture.
Right. So you're stuck.
And you're talking about the trees that are. Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. So, it's, I don't know where you go from it, but, in order to be a public shade tree, you need documentation that the town planted it. And that if it was planted on private property with town funds, then the owner of the property has to agree in writing to plant it there. And I don't believe the town has that documentation.
Right. That's section 9, chapter 87 of the general laws. But the clearer, shall I say, though, the less vague rule is that if any part of it is on the public way, then it's a public shade tree, irrespective of really who planted it. Yeah.
So if that turns out to be the case, that we don't have any documentation and thus we cannot claim that they're public shade trees, then it's up to the homeowner to remove, trim, or do anything with them, right?
If you're talking about the trees planted under section 9, that is true. But there's basically 2 categories, right? There's the category of public shade trees that bisect a property line that separates private and public property. And then there's that sort of section 9 set of public shade trees, whereas Mark mentioned, through written consent, the town can spend money and spend, what is it, 20 feet, Mark, beyond?
20 feet outside
20
of
feet.
the public way, yeah.
Then they are actually public shade trees too. But I don't know of any of those in Nahant that we can show are public shade trees. So we're really left with that first category of trees that are either clearly on public property or bisect the line.
All right. I am going to, all participants can unmute themselves if they have any comments. I believe so. Other than that, that's everything that's in the chat.
Okay, nothing else? Getting late. Okay, I have a motion to adjourn.
Motion for adjournment.
A second, Josh? You're muted.
Was that?
Josh is
that
muted.
sign language?
I muted myself and then it said the host wouldn't let me unmute myself. But thank you, Tony. Seconded.
Motion's been made and seconded. All in favor?
Josh Antrim, aye.
Dean Canty, aye.
Mark Cullen, aye. Good night, everybody.
Night.
Good night.
Good night. Good night.